I'll put you in there. Hey, David.
Can you see it?
Hi.
How does, oh, I have to do it this way.
Yeah, you're
Hi,
doing it that way. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well. Nice to see your face. It's
Good to
been a
see your
while.
face. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me to do this with you.
You're welcome. We're waiting for it to push out a little bit, but how are things in New York?
Everything, I'm saying I'm in, I mean, how can you answer that? We're
Yeah,
all at home.
yeah,
Um,
of course.
but I've been leaning into it, and I'm really trying to, enjoy this moment, even though, the circumstance that got us here is pretty intense. It's been a good moment for reflection and to
Totally.
go inward and do all those fun projects that you never
Yeah,
have time for.
I know, same. Well, I'm excited to introduce you. Everybody, this is our thinking of Art call series that I started during quarantine, is really to introduce you to artists and creatives and people that I really respect in the industry. And Ashlee Harrison is a director at Carpenter's Workshop Gallery in New York, and she has an incredible background. We're going to really talk about collectible design today. And so with that, I just wanted to actually welcome you, to this conversation. It's really good to see you. I'm glad you're safe and healthy, and talk about kind of your journey from growing up in New Hope, Pennsylvania, to working in fashion PR, to the D&D building, and then now where you are in the art world. Can you talk about that journey a little bit?
Oh, wow. Sure. So I went to school. I went to Drexel. I've always been creative and involved in the arts in some capacity since a child. Always loved to paint and draw and be in nature. And when I went to Drexel, I studied art history and design and merchandising, which is kind of a hybrid of a business of design.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my internships in New York. I did them at Elite Models, and then I worked at Saks Fifth Avenue in fashion PR house in the PR department. And in 2008, when the crisis hit, retailers did not have big budgets to do image events, and I was getting kind
I
of
remember.
bored. Yeah,
Yeah.
getting kind of bored of the industry and wanted to get back to something that was a little bit more academic, and that led me to an opportunity with Charles Cohen, who owned the Design Center,
Mm-hmm.
who owns the Design Centers, the D&D
Sure.
building, the Pacific Design Center out in LA, Decorative Center in Houston, and the Dakota down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And with no fear, I thought I was probably 22, just turning 23. So I saw the marketing director position. Somebody sought me out for it. I said, I could do that. So quickly assumed that role, and I was thrown into a different type of design, working with showrooms. We had tenants. It was really more of a real estate, I guess, endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
But it made me, get interested more in the design world again, and particularly furniture and objects. But then after doing that for about 5 years, I decided, 5 years, I guess it's 4.5, really something was missing. I wanted to get more academic, more involved in the academic world, and that aspect of design. And I decided to actually Design Miami had approached me about external relations position. So that kind of catapulted me into where the world that I'm in now, which was working with, galleries that represent artists that create these beautiful functional sculptures and
Mm-hmm. I love
design
design
pieces. And
Yeah.
that's where I met Carpenter's Workshop when
Mm-hmm.
I was with Design Miami, and maintained a relationship with them. At some point, a conversation started, and it said, wouldn't it be great to do a selling exhibition, some type of exhibition in New York? That quickly turned into finding a space, and then the space was supposed to be an office turned into the gallery, and the rest is kind of history. Now we have Paris, London, New York, and San Francisco. So we have
Incredible.
presence in both the West Coast and also the New York City as well.
Yeah, it's an incredible journey. Thank you for sharing that. I want to talk about the new exhibition that you launched. Was it launched right before or right or after the
The lockdown.
the lockdown hit?
No. So this exhibition, it's called The Time Is Now,
Now?
and we had been creating I guess getting more into our online platform as a gallery. It's been something for the past year that we've been developing, and it just kind of, I think this lockdown and the quarantine catapulted us into focusing more, obviously, on the digital front of how we engage with our clients, how we keep, expose the presence of our artists and such. So it came up that I've always wanted to do a show about time. It's a topic that I'm very much interested in personally. How we relate to the time, the conceptual nature of time. And then many of our artists have created incredible works that relate to time as well, whether they are, very direct timepieces or more sculpture that is also therefore a clock, or more conceptually thinking about how we can stop time, how we can slow it down, how we're always trying to fight against it. So this was really a great opportunity, I think, for me to kind of dive into that. And we had archives of 15 years of work. So it was so cool to go back and to see pieces from some of our artists like Robert Stadler, 24-Hour Linda, that was created in 2005 that we,
talk about that piece. Yeah, that's a cool piece.
So Robert's a very conceptual designer and artist that we work with. He's based in Paris. He's from Vienna. And he also is somebody that's really thinking about this concept, like how we perceive time. Does anything really bring you to stop and watch time? And this piece was created in 2015. It was called 24-Hour Linda. It was part of a series that where he also did Tanya, and he did these other beautiful images of more landscapes. And this specific image caught my eye because it's very provocative. It's this very sultry, portrait of a woman. Is giving you this very sexy kind of stare.
Yeah, it's one of the ones on my story, you guys. I promoted right before this call. So if you go back to my stories, you can see some of the imagery. So
when you look at it, it's actually a hybrid between a mural clock and a timepiece light box. So when you look at the image, and you have to detect what the readers are of the time, and the indicators of that. So when you look at the image at 12 o'clock, the picture is perfect. So twice a day, the picture will be perfect. And then as the day goes by, you start to see that her eye starts to become distorted, her beauty mark starts to move, and you realize that that's indicating the hands of the hour and the hands of the minute. And once you understand that, then you can read the time. And Robert came to this idea. It's actually one of these porn magazines that he kept with him moved with him throughout his early adulthood, and
he was attached to that one.
He was attached to this one magazine, and it opened up to this very nostalgic picture. And he decided, he was thinking, like, what is a day in the life of this woman life, and how distorted that must be, this way that she perceives the day. So that was kind of the basis of the piece, and it's a cool work. Happy to share it with everyone.
Very, very cool. I love that. And then the Sebastian Brajkovic, right?
Brajkovic.
Yeah, Brajkovic. Talk about that piece, because that's a bronze. I'm looking at some of the details. So it's a bronze base, right? So what were the other materials that make up that piece?
That's an earlier work of Sebastian Brajkovic as well. He's a Dutch artist that we work with on our roster, and it's from a series that he did called Lathe. He's always referencing history and historic material. So you look at the piece, and it resembles this, late 18th century, early 19th century chair. You could even see the way that he works with it. He took an old chair that was in his studio, had wormholes in it, it was wood, it was so old, and he cast that in bronze, but he digitally manipulated it to kind of turn it
sideways.
Turn it sideways, so it's very surreal in its form.
This looks like a rainbow, like a pink and white rainbow.
It has this rainbow effect, and it also resembles like the stop motion of cartoons. So it's that kind of slow motion feel, like if you were going to take a chair and pull it and let it drop on its side, the slow mapping of that. So all of the embroidery is kind of pulled, and the chair is pulled into this this arc, that also has a suitable function as well. So although it's very sculptural, it has this beautiful sensibility, and then you can also sit on it, which is very useful.
No, it's cool. It's cool. And the next one, the Ron Arad piece, I really love that one.
Ron Arad, you know, heavy hitter, masterpiece. And again, another work that has in our archives. It's called Before Spring and After Summer. Or I'm sorry, After Spring and Before Summer. So talking about how where do you sit? We're kind of sitting in between this this void there, and it's in bronze. It's the piece that we have. It's edition 1 of the series. So it was the first work that really took off. That this whole series of the After Spring and Before Summer, which she's done in aluminum and other materials. But the bronze one is a complete masterpiece.
So you talk about like the prices. There's some other artists in there we can talk about, but for design, you know, for furniture, I mean, obviously, like people that don't collect furniture or think of furniture as art, I wanted to have that conversation because it's also a really good investment. So say if somebody was going to allocate, you know, 5,000, 10, whatever the amount, right, to buying an art piece, and if they didn't necessarily want to buy a painting and they wanted to buy furniture, kind of what steps would you recommend that they go through?
Well, I always think it's about, you know, educating yourself and going out and seeing and looking and learning about the various artists and designers, seeing what you relate to, what really moves you and inspire you. I always like to advise to buy strictly for investment. You know, it's if anything were to happen, you have to love the work and you have to want to live with it. But when you're you know, looking at artists like that we represent, there's a history, there's a know-how, and there's the savoir-faire that can't be replicated. You know, it takes some of them generations to hone these skills. And I think when you're looking at these pieces, they don't just show narrative. They're really, it's not just a furniture piece, but you're looking at the sculptural nature of it. And also this, as you being a patron, you're perpetuating this savoir-faire and this know-how. There's a specific technique. The craftsmanship has to be impeccable. The engineering, that's different than a painting. You know, the engineering, the piece has to work. It has to withstand time. And the pieces only get better with time. And I think that's something when you're looking at works from Carpenter's Workshop Gallery or some other galleries like ours, that's something that really stands out, that is different from just a typical chair or a typical, coffee table. There's really interesting use of material. There's very strong narrative, and there's this high level of craftsmanship that is unparalleled. So, I'm sorry, go on.
And I think it's also good to really mix it up. It's kind of like the high and low with clothing. You know, you can go to H&M and wear, an H&M shirt and wear, APC jeans or whatever and mix it up. And you can do that at home too. And I think that a lot of people are just intimidated, obviously on the furniture side, because they don't really think. People typically don't think about furniture and sculpture as affordable and approachable from a price point. So what price points do you guys offer at your gallery, if you don't mind me asking that question?
So we have pieces, and you can see it on our newly launched shop on our website. There's works like Ingrid Denot's candlesticks, these beautiful bronze candlesticks that I think are around €3,000. On the upward, and we could talk, pieces that are hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the work. And there is, I think, an interest on all levels and all spectrums. We have young artists, and that's something that Carpenters is known for, is that taking and identifying, discovering young artists and developing them and growing with them in their career. Like Studio Drift, for example. You could see Studio Drift started with us about 12 years ago. And we've continued, to grow together as a gallery and artists do. And we continue to look for young emerging designers and artists. We had a show that was curated a few years back in London called The Graduates, where we identified the next wave or generation of what we do. And Martin Laforet, who was one of the artists that were featured in that show, is now signed with us, and he just had a show in London earlier this year, and he's doing incredible work, and that work is relatively accessible. you know, who says where it will go, and we hope that it continues to develop, and we know he will. He's absolutely incredible.
Well, I love how your gallery and you personally really nurture artists, all the artists that you guys work with. I mean, in general, just to support artists in the art world. But can you talk more about the auction market and how, you know, how people can look at the auction market when they're researching maybe to buy a specific artist? I mean, I advise my clients, you know, I do the research and go on ArtNet and I check, you know, the auction records. I'm curious from your perspective how you would recommend people to do that and source the pricing and do their due diligence before they buy a piece.
So it really depends, because when you're buying a young artist or contemporary work, especially with you know, functional sculpture with design, we tend to see our clients live with the pieces, and they rarely come up at auction. Yeah. Now, when you're looking at an artist that's been, you know, creating work, has a deep breadth of work for many years, someone like Ingrid Donat, who's been working for 30 years, she's been creating work. Just now, you're seeing over the past few years, some of her pieces come for sale, and they're fetching 3, 4, 5 times the estimate. So or like Wendell Castle, for example, he's another one that has been, you know, since his passing, he's always continued to grow, but he's another one that you've seen a rise in on the market. So it's a little bit, I would say, more modest than the painting market. You're not buying a piece and you don't want to flip it. Like, and we would never want that with our work, but it's something that you live with, you appreciate, and you know, by default, it might appreciate as well.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there are fewer flippers in the sculpture market, just for the sheer fact of moving the pieces,
and people live with them. I think when you're making that type of commitment, I mean, it has a footprint, so you want to live with it.
Well, you're used to
the design market has been on up and up for years. I think people are realizing, collectors that are buying paintings or other type of medium are realizing that the furniture and the objects that are surrounding their walls are equally as important.
Oh, 100%. And now more than ever, with everybody at home and stuck at home, people are really like, they want their home to look really great. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you to talk about collectible design. I love Design Miami, by the way. I mean, it's one of my favorite, it's one of my first places that I like to go to during Art Basel is Design Miami, and just check out all the new.
It's such a civilized fair.
It's awesome. It takes my breath away. You talk about like the future of the art market right now. I mean, and just your general thoughts. I mean, obviously nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, obviously we're all evolving and changing, but what are your thoughts? Because you're used to being on a plane, traveling all the time, seeing clients, going to art fairs around the world, and your life has been impacted by this, and curious on your thoughts.
Well, it's definitely changed. I think it's changed for all of us, but I have to say, you know, how we're connecting with clients is obviously different. We're not doing, you know, dinner parties. It's more like DMs. Instagram has played a huge role in that. We have, as a gallery, started a series called Lockdown Live every Wednesday, where we feature different artists and get in their studios. But thank God for technology, because I don't know how we would operate without it. That said, I think that going back, we are going to crave and to feel that need for human emotion. And right now, as much video content as we can create and show and share, it will never replace that value of seeing a piece in person, of sitting in it, of having this conversation face to face. And I do think that people will crave that, you know, when on the other end of this. But that technology is essential. So like how we have started with our online viewing rooms and have been doing more, you know, Instagram or Zoom or here and there, I think that will continue. But we have to, you know, not forget what we're buying is a physical thing, what we're selling is a physical thing. You have to touch it, you have to feel it, and nothing replaces that.
I mean, I'm finding that people are relying on us as experts, I guess, in our areas, to rely on our expertise a little bit more than they did before, where it was, You know, like if you really believe it, if you really think this artist is great and you've done your due diligence, I'll pull the trigger, because they can't go out, at least at the moment, to see the piece. So I feel like that's in some ways putting more pressure on us as, you know, in our industry, but it's also a really good thing, I think. Talk about like, where do you want to travel after you, I mean, where's like the first place you want to travel after you can leave home?
I would love to be on a sunny beach.
Yeah.
Without my phone, without my iPad, without my Instagram.
Yeah. I get that. I mean, it's beautiful being, you know, this opportunity to grow and develop more creatively at home, but at the same time, like, we can't get away from technology. Like, everybody knows you're home, so they're like constantly on top of you. Where, like, what beach? Like Miami or like?
No, I was thinking more like Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. I love Costa Rica.
Yeah. I in my other life, there was a period where I did try to move to Tulum. And I hear that there is a town in Costa Rica that's like how Tulum used to be. So taking a nice break there might not be a bad idea.
I love Costa Rica. I did a yoga retreat there a couple of years ago. Can we talk about any other fun projects that you've come up with during quarantine? I know that you have one that I'm a big fan of. So can you talk about that?
You're talking about my cooking.
Yes, your cooking. Tell us about it.
Sure. So it's a new answer. It's a handle Instagram. It's a project I've been working. Okay, how do I start? Yeah. I have been wanting to kind of do this dinner series that I never had time for. And it's called Cooking with Artists. And a few years ago, I had found this great artist cookbook from like the 60s that the museum put out, and it had all of these wonderful recipes from different modern masters. So I was in the process of kind of moving before the quarantine, before the lockdown really happened. And I found this cookbook. And I was like, oh, this is going to be my quarantine project. I'm going to cook the recipes in this cookbook. Now, it's very much my nature to want to share. And I love getting people together. I love hosting dinners. I love cooking for people I love. And since I can't do that and bring you to the home, I decided to start an Instagram handle called Cooking with Artists. And I'm trying the recipes and documenting them. I'm sharing information about the artists a little bit. So it's a little bit educational. You can read about, you know, the artists like Robert Motherwell. Robert Motherwell I did this week.
Yeah.
I did Louise Bourgeois. And then I've also been reaching out to contemporary artists that I'm friends with and artists that we represent, like Vincenzo De Cotis, or I did one with Joop van Lieshout as well. I need to post. I've been creating a lot of content now. Now I got the format down of how I want to share. I'm going to start posting. So I've archived some of them. I even got like I can show you. I have my little replica surfaces so I can professionally shoot the piece. So in the beginning, it was much more amateur, and now it's becoming a little bit more professional. Okay. I love that you're doing this. There's really great recipes on there. Yeah. The Motherwell souffle was great. That was a hit. And what else? I did Louise Bourgeois' Bolito Misto. That's a good one. I had today a dish by Salvador Dali, so that will be up there soon. Pedro Reyes gave me a recipe, but it involves grasshoppers. So as soon as I can get my hold on grasshoppers, I'll be trying that one out.
No, that's awesome. I love that you're doing that, because it's a fun way to like learn about art, especially with kids or any parents that are on here that want to talk to their kids about art. I think that's really fun. Very approachable. So if you like art or food, it's the place for you. Yeah. No, it's cool. That's awesome. What else can we talk about? Some other, I mean, you did a big show at UTA last year. Was it Dark Fantasies? Was that the name of it? Yes, we did a show back in October with UTA Artist Space, which is an incredible here in Los Angeles, space out in Los Angeles. It's in Beverly Hills. And we partnered with them to put on this exhibition called Dark Fantasy. And that was another survey kind of exhibition, a group show. And it really was playing off of this kind of like theatrical nature of LA. So we picked selected works from Sebastian Brajkovic, from Nacho Carbonell. It kind of takes you into this whimsical, unworldly space. And it's really was
it was a huge hit. Like LA is an incredible market for what we do. They love design. They love sculpture. They love to take.
Well, we have more space here. We have larger
more
homes.
Space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you going to be spending more time in LA, do you think?
Well, I don't know when the next time is I can get on a plane.
Well,
but
whenever
sure
you,
as I can,
well, whenever you can you please come out here more often?
I know I would love to see you, and I love being out there.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you have the sunshine and beautiful yard. I couldn't wait to have
You
that.
know, 17 years, whatever, 17 years in New York. I love New York. My best friends are there, still there. But there's nothing like having nature around you and the sun, and that energy here is really been very healing for me. Can you talk a little bit about the LA art market versus New York? Because with Frieze, you know, the Frieze happening in the second year, just happened in, you know, earlier this year. I really feel the momentum of the LA art scene really gaining a lot of momentum.
It's been happening. I would say it's probably been happening for 10 years now.
Yeah.
It's always been a home to incredible artists, right? And now the incredible institutions and world-class private collections. I think now it's growing more, and it's just more obvious. New York is an institution, so you can't really compare them in that way. They just, for what we do, there's incredible opportunity because you have incredible homes and incredible spaces. And in New York, you definitely are limited in terms of the footprint, no matter, you know, who you are. So I think that it's a growing area of interest, and I think doing more of these exhibitions and special projects are a place that we will be focusing. And then of course we have San Francisco, which has been an incredible, you know, journey, and a lot of our LA clients do travel to San Francisco, so it's great to have that presence on the West Coast as well.
When did you launch the gallery in San Francisco?
September, actually, was it September 29th? It was the end of September, beginning of October 2019.
Okay,
right?
so recently.
2018.
18?
Sorry.
18, yeah, that makes sense.
About a year and a half ago.
What do you think?
St. Joseph's. It's the St. Joseph's Art Society.
Okay.
So we're within this beautiful church. It's incredible. We are the gallery in residence there on the mezzanine.
Yeah,
we can do really incredible shows.
Yeah. I want to go back to the fairs a little bit and talk about Miami, Art Basel versus Frieze in LA, and your thoughts on that, because I've been going to Art Basel I think I've missed it once in 14 years, however long it's been going. But I just really feel like people, love Miami Basel. I love it particularly, but it's become so overrun with the commercial corporate brands like dominating. And I feel like that there's going to be a shift, or there is a slight shift with people focusing more on LA and Frieze. And I just want to hear your thoughts on that, just as a peer in the industry.
You know, I don't know, because we haven't participated. The fairs, it was just last year. Did they? Second year for Frieze. 2 years now they've had it. And this past year, I wasn't there for it. It's hard to say. I think, again, LA is a growing market. I hope and feel that it will continue to grow and develop in terms of the Frieze Fair and then these auxiliary fairs. But you have Art Basel, like 15, how many years now have they been doing Art Basel in Miami? It's been a really long time. So as the fair circuit grows and builds momentum, and then all these smaller events, and then everybody in the community wants to jump on the bandwagon of it. And I think that's what happened with Miami, which really, in a way, is great, because it's like there's something for everybody, but it does become very overwhelming and diluted in a way. I think that after this moment, there will be a shift in terms of the number of fairs and how the fairs also are approached, because there was too many. In recent years, there's too many. You could be at an art fair every other week. Yeah. And what that we call it fair fatigue. You know, how you feel and during fair season, you go through 2, 3 fairs. By the third fair, it's like you get that whitewash effect.
Yeah.
Right. So
what main fairs were you doing?
We were doing a lot at one point, and we did pare back a little bit to focus more on our gallery exhibitions and kind of re-strategize. Because again, when you're doing a gallery show and then you have 3 fairs going on, you're on the road at the fair. It's exhausting on your body too. And you want to focus on doing incredible gallery exhibitions. So we have done, we do Design Miami, we do Design Miami in Basel. We do Pad Paris, Pad London. We do TAFAF. We did TAFAF in Maastricht this year and TAFAF in New York. So hopefully we'll be doing TAFAF in October in New York. I'm hoping that we return to normal, whatever this new normal is going to be soon.
I know, fingers crossed.
And we've tried many fairs over the years, but those would be the main ones, I would say.
What do you like the best? What's the best part of your job?
Best part of my job, I love working with the artists, and I love sharing that with people. Like, my favorite thing is when somebody that's never been to the gallery comes for the first time and introducing them and telling the stories. There's so much storytelling in all of the works and behind all of the pieces and behind the artists. So getting people excited about it, that discovery moment, is probably the most exciting thing about what I do.
I love seeing you working a fair and going and seeing you, because like you're in the middle. I remember, I think it was Design Miami a couple years ago. I remember seeing you and saying hi, and you were closing a deal, and one you turned around, you were back to that conversation and closing it, but it's you light up, you love it. It's just such a perfect fit for you, and I love seeing you do something that you're just so passionate about.
It's definitely a fun thrive now more and more too, because a lot of our artists have been we work a lot with institutions and museums, and that's something also that really excites me and makes me feel like we're doing something that's relevant and has this moment in history. So I love introducing people to the work and talking about all of the stories, but also I think now, as I've grown, the museum relationships and that type of academic development has been really interesting as well.
Can you talk a little bit about that? How do you navigate an artist that's not in a museum collection, kind of introducing them to the curators and the people at the institutions to make that happen?
Right. So there's certain, I think it goes both ways, but there's certain artists where that their work, if it would respond to the program, correlates really closely with the program, and reaching out to the curators and introducing them to the work, and then it might start with they're putting to their exhibition about a specific topic or theme. For example, and then this is not an artist that we work with that is unknown. He's very established, Matthew Lanner, but Cooper Hewitt was doing their triennial. It was all about nature, and one of Matthew's series is called Ocean Memories, and it's that marble that looks like it's transitioning into ocean. It's it looks like transition of state between liquid to solid. And that piece is just it's so much based on nature. So they were doing this exhibition, the curator and I were talking, it seems like the perfect fit. So it's very organic sometimes of how it comes up, but then at the same time it's connecting the dots, thinking about, okay, what is this artist about, and then what is the institution's program about? Does it seem like the right fit? And it becomes a dialogue. And then it's just about the right moment. And
it's true. It's about like connecting the dots, but it's interesting, like where maybe people that don't really understand the art world so much, that once an artist exhibits in a major institution, the value, right, and the value of that piece can appreciate as well significantly in some cases.
Well, I think that it's really about, it's kind of like a validation in a way. You see it in a museum, and thus it is important. But then it's about the community. It's about, you know, if it's being shown in a museum, that community of that museum, that institution, the trustees, the curators, they have collectively decided that, you know, there's a collective interest, right? So, and then that's a good pool to base this upon. So yes, you could say that the value were to appreciate. I don't like to touch so much on that, but it definitely is raising the awareness within the general public and the greater community and people that can see and experience the art. You know, it's and that's one of the points of museums is anybody can go and to learn and to experience and to be educated.
Well, maybe a better way to in front of instead of an investment or the potential price appreciation is just basic economics, right? Because more people know about the piece, and there's, you know, more demand, less supply, and it's going to drive up prices. That's just a logical. That's the way I kind of position it when I'm talking to people about it.
I think that's smart.
Yeah.
Right on.
How are you thinking of art? Since the title of this series is Thinking of Art, how are you thinking of art differently now versus pre-corona?
Oh, it's a tough question. I mean, because I lived so much in it. I mean, it's been so much my therapy between that and cooking. I realize how essential it is, really, and how essential it is to have beauty around you, to have things that provoke thought, and it takes you into the moment, right? And it can help you to escape some of these, you know, worries or fears or troubles or that you might be facing. And I think of art as therapy in that way.
That's beautiful. I do the same. Exactly. Pretty much exactly how I think of it.
It's so important. Like now more than ever, I'm so appreciative of having these moments and being able to stand in front of something and to experience it. Yeah. And
I think it's back to like the stories that we have with the artists that make the pieces, and, you know, the difficulties, the struggles they're going through or they have gone through to create the piece, or the technical aspects of building it. So I wanted to thank you for coming on and talking about your story, the incredible work you're doing at the gallery and the exhibition that's still online. And it was extended, right? The online exhibition?
This exhibition is extended until next Friday. And then we will launch a new exhibition, and that one is all about nature. So every 3 weeks we'll have a new viewing room. And you can see beautiful works from our artists and get inspired.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ashlee.
Thank you so much, Kipton.
All right.
And I can't wait to see you in the reel.
I know. Same here. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Talk to you soon.